Trinidad Chambliss should start against Washington State, and that's really the last easy answer that we're going to have in this situation.
You are Locked On Ole Miss, your daily podcast on the Ole Miss Rebels. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome to the Locked On Ole Miss podcast, the most watched Ole Miss podcast out there. I am Stephen Willis, a 10-year veteran member of the national media with Yahoo Sports and a former Ole Miss staff member. On today's show, we'll continue our bye-week coverage by spotlighting an elite 2027 recruit that Steve Wiltfong just predicted would commit to Ole Miss. We'll talk about that. And this young quarterback throws a beautiful ball, and his potential has Rebel fans buzzing at the moment. But from there, we'll dive into the current quarterback situation in Oxford. While things look pretty straightforward as far as who should get the first snap against Washington State, the long-term outlook looks a little bit less certain, especially when you consider the future of Austin Simmons if the necessary move is made. And that move in our eyes is clear. Trinidad Chambliss should start against Washington State. Over the last 3 weeks, he's earned the QB1 reps, and now it's time to acknowledge what he's brought to the offense. Listen, there are plenty of what ifs, but let's start with this critical decision. All of this and more on today's Locked On Ole Miss podcast. Remember, we're free and available on all the podcast apps and on YouTube. Thank you for making Locked On Ole Miss your first listen every day, and a special hello to the insiders and everydayers who make this show what it is. Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Right now, new customers can bet just $5, and if that bet wins, you'll get $300 in bonus bets to use across the app. Download that app today. So, Trinidad Chambliss should be the starting quarterback for the Washington State game. That's obvious. If you look around the fan base, if you watch any number of YouTube videos that are out there, Trinidad Chambliss is the hot hand, and he has earned the right to start. He's the defending AP National Player of the Week for his performance against the LSU Tigers, and that defense is supposed to be the best defense that Ole Miss is going to see this year. Trinidad Chambliss not only passed that test, he passed it with flying colors. So when you look at what Trinidad Chambliss can do, he can probably do it against everybody. He is the only quarterback in the last 30 years or so that over the course of 3 games has 300 yards passing and 50 yards rushing. The only one. That includes Cam Newton, Johnny Manziel, Tim Tebow, all of those guys. It was Trinidad Chambliss that was able to do that. So when I say he's earned the start against the Washington State Cougars, he has. Absolutely. But that doesn't mean that Austin Simmons did anything worth being demoted about. And we'll talk about that in the next segment. I really feel for Austin. I feel for David Simmons. I feel for the whole thing because the talent of that quarterback is off the charts. But when you look at what Trinidad Chambliss has done, right now he deserves, and I hate the word deserves, but he deserves the snap of the start of the Washington State game. Listen. Against the LSU Tigers, he was 23 of 39, 314 yards with a touchdown and an interception. Could have been a lot more, honestly, if we're going to be real about it. He had a chance if he wanted to run for over 100 yards, and he was absolutely a point guard of the offense, distributing the ball to 9 different wide receivers in the game. The 2-minute offense at the end of the first half was completely on point. The 4-minute offense at the end of the game was completely on point. Trinidad Chambliss played an amazing football game, and everybody would admit that. That is the reason that he deserves these reps moving forward. Listen, right now he is the number 5 player according to FanDuel with the best odds to win the Heisman Trophy at 12-1, plus 1,200. Dante Moore at like plus 650, 6.5-1 is the leader. It's not even that much of a spread. Trinidad Chambliss is in the edges of the Heisman conversation right now. A big performance against the Georgia Bulldogs would likely catapult him up to the top, if we're going to be completely honest. That isn't Austin Simmons' fault. And this football season, it's easy. If this is a win now scenario, which it is, if we're going to be honest, when you look at Ole Miss's schedule, you look the way it lines up, you look at, hey, we can get to where we want to get to right now. With the win over LSU, we are going to be favored in 6 of our last 7 games. Let's try to make the college football playoff right now. Let's try to make it to Atlanta right now. And Trinidad Chambliss is probably the best way to do that, the best way to accomplish that goal. With the way he's playing, the way he situationally manages the game. There's certain people out there, they hear game manager, they get all, oh my gosh, no, he's a good quarterback. No, game manager is a good quarterback. Every quarterback should strive to be a game manager. And Trinidad Chambliss, you can tell he's played a lot of football. Instead of saying the term game manager, that's what they're saying. Oh, he's played a lot of football. He understands how to play the quarterback position. And here's the other side of this. And this is what makes this decision to stick with Trinidad Chambliss so easy. They play hard for him. They play really hard. Offensively and defensively, they believe in him. After the Arkansas game, when we were first announced to the potential greatness of Trinidad Chambliss, he was mobbed at the end of the game by 10 to 15 people. They understand how good he is and what he can bring to the table. People always talk about whenever a situation like this develops, where's the locker room sit? The locker room will determine how this goes. And they obviously are believers in Trinidad Chambliss. Now, they could also be believers in Austin Simmons. Listen, Austin Simmons threw 2 interceptions against Georgia State and then beat them 63-7. 2 first quarter interceptions against them that was 63-7. Threw 2 first quarter interceptions against Kentucky, then led the team to 30-13 for the remainder of the game, including some of the most clutch playing that you've seen. Austin has done, I reiterate it, he has done nothing wrong. This is the definition of Wally Pipping a player, to where you get injured and the other guy is just so good that you can't take him off the field. And right now, Trinidad absolutely is the hot hand. Every single game this season, he has made at least one wow throw to where you're like, I did not think he could do that. Against Tulane, it was the Mario Manningham, Eli Manning pass on the sideline. It was the whole shot down the sideline, perfectly put into place. A catch by Deuce Alexander. Against Arkansas, they did the same thing. Another whole shot. He throws that very well. But the pass that has everybody buzzing right now about what this Ole Miss team can do, was a 3rd and 14 in the 4th quarter, I think. Maybe it might have been the 3rd quarter. But it was 3rd and 14, a dig route over the middle of the field, a tiny window with a perfectly thrown football in between the LSU defenders to Trey Wallace for a first down, 18 yards on a first down. Every single game, there's a wow throw that Trinidad is making right now. Trinidad on 4th down, just cool, calm, and collected. Throw to Caden Lee. They're doing an excellent job, and I'm going to be honest about something right now. Trinidad Chambliss, the fact that they have to pay so much attention and the helmet communication is obviously helping right now with Trinidad Chambliss, with the tempo that they move things and all of that. He's just poised. He's just calm. He is the consummate athletic game manager. And because of that, he's distributing to all these elite weapons, and the defense doesn't know who to double team. And all of a sudden, this offense has been completely unlocked. We've seen it in 2023. Jackson Dart did this to LSU, to where they used a lot of targets and just gained like 700 yards or something like that over the course of the game. We've seen it a couple of times. We have rarely seen it 3 straight games, to where he's completed 7 and 8 passes to every wide receiver at the course of 3 games. Now, Washington State's coming up. It needs to continue, of course. And then Georgia's coming up. And that's going to be a real test because Trinidad Chambliss, for all we've talked about, that game in Athens is the hardest place to play right now in the Southeastern Conference. Don't give me Death Valley. Don't give me Tuscaloosa. Right now, the hardest place to play is a night game in Athens, Georgia. They've lost exactly one time there, and that was last week since 2019. It's a hard place to play. Trinidad Chambliss is going to take another step up whenever that is the deal, essentially. And to be honest, it would be the same thing with Austin Simmons. And Austin Simmons, by the way, everybody needs to realize, here's the reality. If Trinidad Chambliss does become the full-time starter over the course of this season, and it looks like he will, it isn't because of Austin Simmons failing. Simmons losing his spot would come through zero fault of his own, but that still leaves Lane Kiffin with a kind of complicated decision. For the short term, you can't afford to waste Simmons' development. Whether it's design package, situational drives, meaningful snaps, and blowouts, Kiffin has to keep him engaged and on track. The last thing that Ole Miss wants is Simmons tuning out or hitting the portal, if we're going to be real. For the long term, this is about roster management. If Chambliss is the guy now, you need to lay out a clear path for Simmons, either a patient plan where he's next in line or a rotation that gives both quarterbacks defined roles. Transparency is going to be everything for the staff. This isn't an easy decision either way. Quarterback controversies rarely are, but Ole Miss has to treat Simmons as honestly too valuable of a talent to mishandle. We'll talk about what options Kiffin has and how it shapes the Ole Miss future next. You know, Mazda crafts cars for those who do more than simply move. You can feel the Japanese craftsmanship in every detail, from the metallic accents to the available Napa leather upholstery. You can make everyday drives feel like anything but, from smooth handling to intuitive controls. With all-wheel drive standard in every crossover SUV, you can drive with confidence nearly in every season. Like our players, we sweat every detail because when you make every move count, impossible becomes irrelevant. Mazda, move and be moved. You know, most people can't name all of their financial accounts or even what they're worth, whether it's a 401k or properties or investments. And when you don't have the full picture, you can end up leaving money on the table. That is where Monarch Money comes in. It's an all-in-one personal finance tool that brings your entire financial life together in one clean, easy-to-use interface on your laptop or your phone. Monarch is built for people with busy lives. You've put off organizing your finances. If you've done that, Monarch is for you. Monarch does the heavy lifting for you so you can link all your accounts in minutes, see clear data visuals, and get smart categorization of your spending, and finally feel in control of your money, all without ever touching a spreadsheet. You can identify that you aren't saving as much as you thought. Monarch helps you notice if an inefficiency is developing in your investment allocation. And you can also discover forgotten 401ks, honestly, from past jobs. So don't let this financial opportunity slip through the cracks. Use the code LOCKEDONCollege, all one word, at monarchmoney.com in your browser for half off of your first year. That's 50% off your first year at monarchmoney.com with code LOCKEDONCollege. Do us a favor, like, subscribe, and comment on the video. Subscribe to the podcast on whatever audio podcast you're listening to. Give it a 5-star review if you don't mind. It costs nothing, but it helps keep all of this free. If you want more, join the Insiders program in the subtext link down below. No trolls, 14-day free trial, and the easiest way ever to cancel, so give that a try. And don't forget to check out a second listen on the network. Nearly every team, college or pro, is ready for you. Now, one thing that's interesting to me is what's going to happen with Austin Simmons. Now, I will say this. Everybody knows how I feel about Austin Simmons and the relationship that I have, honestly, with the family. And Austin's been on this show multiple times over the past 6 months. I'm a fan of Austin Simmons. I have called him a 1-1 level talent and still believe that. Okay. So I want to start with that. Austin, when talking to him, is an unbelievably mature young man. He might only be 19 years old, but he doesn't act like it. He handles things better than I probably would if I was put in that same situation. To put that in context, after Ole Miss beat LSU, the celebration was Trinidad Chambliss and Austin Simmons going absolutely nuts on the sideline. Austin Simmons, though, has been not healthy for the last couple of ball games. So once he becomes fully healthy, then it's going to feel a little bit different. And I think Austin can handle it pretty well, honestly. And when you talk about David Simmons and all of that stuff, I think that Austin Simmons, no matter what happens over the course of this football season, is not going to be a distraction and is going to be a good soldier. You know, everybody's worried about a quarterback controversy, splitting the locker room, all of that stuff. I don't think you need to worry about that with this. What I think you need to worry about is the long term of this in this era that we're living in right now. They can be really good people. They can be good soldiers. They can do everything that they're supposed to do. And I fully expect them to do that, just to be clear. But when the transfer portal window opens on, was it January 4th or something like this, a 10-day window, there's a chance that Austin Simmons could get in it. That is the trade-off that you're making right now. And then this is the decision that Lane Kiffin has to make in his head. He makes $10 million a year. He is going to have to be the one that deals with all of this, not all of us. All we can just worry about the decision and how the outcome plays out. And there's lots of ways it could go wrong. But I do not think during the playoffs or during the season this year, as it goes on, Austin Simmons is anything to worry about. He's too good of a soldier. He's too good of a player. He's too good of a dude, if we're going to be honest about it, to where you have to worry about stuff like that. I don't think people have popped on, what about his dad? I don't think his dad's going to be, I don't think anybody's going to be a problem. They understand football. And whenever you understand football, you realize that Ole Miss just played the number 4 team in the country, beat them at home, and the person that has taken snaps got AP National Player of the Week. If it was a ugly win that Ole Miss picked up, a fluky win against LSU, the offense didn't play great, the defense had a pick six, basically like the LSU Florida game, something like that, yes, it would be weird. It would get really weird. But I think the AP did Ole Miss a solid in naming Trinidad Chambliss the National Player of the Week, because that does resonate with everybody. That resonates with the locker room. Heck, that probably resonates with Austin. So for the short term, I think we're going to be fine. I think Ole Miss can absolutely accomplish every goal that they have in the short term. The long term is where it gets tricky. The long term is where you can't count on, if this happens, Austin to be back next season. That's just the way that college football works now. We'll see. I think they're good people, and they talk about, no, they won't do that or something to that effect. And I'm a huge fan of that family. If anybody would not transfer after this season, it would be the Simmons family. And I know everybody likes to talk because they saw the Athletic article and Lane Kiffin comparing Austin Simmons to Todd Marinovich and David Simmons to Todd Marinovich's dad. And that's not what's happening here. I have seen no evidence whatsoever that would be any sort of a problem down the road. People are making assumptions, doing 1 + 2 = 7, essentially. So I'm not worried about what's going to happen. What I am worried about is Trinidad Chambliss taking the first snap at Georgia. That's the thing that's on my mind at the moment, because Georgia is an incredibly hard place to play. You saw what happened to Jackson Dart when they went to Athens 2 years ago. Georgia 50-burgered Ole Miss, and it wasn't that close. But Ole Miss has 2 games. If they can split one of those 2 games against at Georgia and at Oklahoma, if they can split that, 11-1 and the SEC championship game comes on the table. Everybody within this conference is going to lose games at some point. We will see exactly what it looks like and how you can make it to move forward. All I know is the conversation around Ole Miss football has changed in the last 48 hours. It went from a wait and see, yada, yada, yada. Are they really that good? Oh, my gosh, they're last in the SEC in rushing, all of that. You beat LSU, they're like they're number 4 in the country. You know, Trinidad Chambliss is on the Heisman list. He's the 5th best betting favorite to win the Heisman Trophy. And, Ole Miss sitting at number 4 on the AP poll right now. Number 4 on the coaches poll. It's interesting to me. It is that Ole Miss can take that step, because this is the corner I think that Ole Miss fans have been waiting on for 50 years. Ever since Johnny Vaught won 3 national titles or shares of it in 3 consecutive years. I think that this is the corner that we've been waiting to get to. And we'll see exactly how we pass the test. You've heard me talk for 3 years. Keep banging on the door until you knock it down. Talking about the playoffs. Keep banging on the door. It doesn't matter if you lose a game. It doesn't matter if you get 50-burgered at Georgia, or last year you lose the ball game to Kentucky and Florida and all that. Keep banging on the door. And this is just another example of banging on the door and doing the right thing, in my opinion. Anyway, in our final segment, the recruiting guru Steve Wiltfong is predicting Ole Miss will land an elite 2027 quarterback. We'll introduce the name he's eyeing, break down the upside, and talk about what it could mean for the Rebels. Coming up next. The NFL season is here, and FanDuel has an offer that you don't want to miss. Right now, new customers can bet just $5 and get $300 in bonus bets if you win that first $5 bet. That's right. Pick a bet, put down $5, and if it hits, you'll unlock $300 in bonus bets to use across the app. I love how FanDuel gives me so many different ways to play. I built parlays, tried player props, even followed a live line during the game. It makes watching football even more exciting when you've got a little something riding on the action. Whether you're a casual fan or love diving into the stats, FanDuel makes the game day experience so much better. So what are you waiting for? Visit FanDuel.com to download the FanDuel app today and get started. This episode is also brought to you by Square, your favorite neighborhood spots run on Square. There are certain businesses that make the neighborhood the neighborhood. These are places that have become an extension of home, whether it's a sports bar dedicated to your team's fan base, or the spot with the best wings in town for game day, or that beloved local chain that's been rooted in your community for years. These businesses are what bring people together. When neighborhood businesses thrive, the whole neighborhood thrives. Share the neighborhood love, tell us all about what it's like where you are. I am a huge fan. Maybe it's Phillips Grocery or Taylor Grocery, or heck, even the Oxford Creamery. Those places around town, they all use Square, and they are a part of the neighborhood. Square is a proud partner of more than 4 million neighborhood businesses around the world. You can go to square.com/go/lockedoncollege to learn more. But before you do, go support your favorite neighborhood spot. You'll be happy you did. Square, see you in the neighborhood. So Steve Wiltfong thought it would be really interesting to drop in a Fong Bomb. That's still one of the dumbest nicknames ever. But he put out a prediction on a recruit in this 2027 class. And Lane Kiffin's had trouble, not necessarily recruiting elite quarterbacks, because he did get Marcel Reed, who's the quarterback at Texas A&M, to commit. He did have a commitment from Damon Williams, who's up at Washington, balling out right now, got him to commit. Lost both of them, but got him to commit. He did not get Deuce Knight, because you know that Ole Miss was all in on Deuce Knight, and this year has been a weird recruitment cycle. They tried for Ryder Lyons, they tried for other quarterbacks that are around the SEC. And with the situation of Austin Simmons kind of being weird, okay? No, I haven't heard anything. I'm just making assumptions on the transfer portal after the season, if this season goes the way we think it will. The 2027 class becomes interesting. And Ole Miss got a prediction from Steve Wiltfong to land Keegan Croucher. He is a quarterback out of New York, and he is somebody, man, he throws a really pretty football. He is somebody that can throw the ball up and down the field. When you look at his rankings, he is a 4-star on every service. He's a top 200 player in every service. When you look at his consensus, he is 119th. He's the number 10 quarterback. He's obviously the number 1 quarterback in Connecticut. So even though he plays ball at Cheshire Academy in New York and Connecticut, so he must have transferred. That must have been what happened. But he is number 113 on Rivals, number 9 quarterback. He is the number 170 on 247. He's the number 12 quarterback. And he is the number 12 quarterback on ESPN, a 4-star as well, number 151. He is somebody that throws a really pretty deep ball. Now, he is not the runner. Everybody that's seen Trinidad Chambliss perform, he's not that dude. He is closer to what we are expecting from Austin Simmons once he gets the reins full-time or something like that. But he throws a really pretty football, and you can just see it come off his hands. It just looks different. And Keegan Croucher out of Cheshire Academy in New York is somebody to pay attention to, and I'll see exactly what's going to happen there. Now, the other rumor is, apparently Deuce Geralds was in Oxford for the Ole Miss LSU game, which wouldn't be a surprising thing since he's committed to LSU. But he was hanging out with like Ole Miss defensive line players after the game. So I think David Johnson over at 247 put in a flip crystal ball. So we'll see exactly how that goes. But I do think over the last 2 months, Deuce Geralds becomes interesting. I think over the last 2 months, there's a lot of players that are flip candidates that become interesting. We'll talk with Brian Smith a little bit later on today. It'll air on Saturday, by the way, Saturday morning at 7, since it's a bye week. But we'll talk to him about recruiting and flip watches and Dorian Barney and all those guys. So stick around for that. Anyway, thanks again for making the Locked On Ole Miss podcast your go-to source for Ole Miss sports. We pride ourselves on offering the most comprehensive perspectives, which is why we're the front door of Ole Miss. Don't forget to subscribe, like, and comment. It helps the show, and it's completely free. Your support means the world to us. And another big moment for Locked On, college football fans. Locked On and Fire TV are presenting College Football Kickoff, your ultimate college football weekly preview. Drake Toll of Locked On Big 12 leads the conversation, a longtime 2-time AP Coach of the Year, Gary Patterson, former college star Jesse Holley, and Locked On's local experts. A college football preview only Locked On can do. Catch College Football Kickoff every Thursday throughout the season, only on Fire TV. Hotty toddy, everybody, and remember, analytics is just the old English word that means bad football. We'll see you tomorrow.